Okay, so you guys know I use apps a lot. This is the app that came, I think it came native when you link it to your, connect it to your Rally pedals from Garmin, and it puts this estimated distance, and it shows you your power, your heart rate, and your speed, and it kind of puts everything together based on that. Now my heart rate is connected to my Polar H10 heart rate monitor strap, and I think heart rate monitor straps are the most accurate way to gather your heart rate data. But the watch has a sensor, my Ring has a sensor, the Whoop band has a sensor, so many of those, Fitbit obviously has a sensor, many of those devices have sensors. And I think for the purposes of starting to monitor your fitness so you can manage your fitness is something you need to think about, and pick something that you use and just use it. And I'm gonna profess that you need to, it's not a bandwagon anymore. You need to just get with the times and be tracking your health and fitness data, and you will not be able to manage yourself as well if you don't use technology. Now you still can manage yourself, and you still can do it without technology, but will it be as influential to you? Will it coach you in a way like this is coaching me, telling me, hey, you could ride 157 miles more today? And that's pretty amazing. So and then there's other aspects of it too. You can make it challenging, especially with power meters, where you can do all the power meter data when you have a bicycle. But even the newer Garmin and Polar watches have estimated power when it comes to running too. And then they also have estimated VO2 max. So I'm going to recommend another book. It's called Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia, or Peter Attia, and he's got some other books called Longevity and things like that. But he has a YouTube channel too, and he goes really deep into the science, and taking the fact that he was a cardiovascular surgeon, specializing in, I think he specialized in liver transplants and the hepatic surgery type stuff. But he saw a lot of wrecked people. But one thing he said in his book that I thought about long, deep, and hard, and it actually changed what I was doing, is he said that he did a biopsy, or they were basically trying to save a kid from an accident. Maybe, I don't know if that kid was, I don't think it was a biopsy, I'm not sure exactly, I'll have to look back on the book. But the kid was only 13 years old, and he saw signs of the calcium building up in his veins, and he saw that this kid, you know, had a moderately high cholesterol, nothing real high, I guess within range, but maybe on the higher zone. I don't know if he even went into that detail, but he was just astounded by the fact that already at age 13 you're starting to form obstructions in your vascular system. So that laid on my mind really heavy, and not that that made me start writing Centuries, because I was writing Centuries before I read that book, but that made me think longer and harder about cardiovascular health and what we take for granted when it comes to the necessity of getting our heart rate elevated. And so I taught a indoor cycling class for 17 years, and it was at 24 Hour Fitness. I taught it a couple places, and that was when I first introduced my class, and also became an ambassador for the Polar heart rate monitor watch. And Polar watches are great, I like them, but I just, right now the Garmin's have been much more reliable for me. And I don't like the Apple Watch. I don't know, I tried it, I didn't like it. So I landed on the Garmin, and I may be getting another Polar with their newest firmware update. I may just try the new M. I don't really see the Polar V advantage of the Polar V. It's just a little more luxurious looking, I guess, but I'll get the Polar M. Anyway, let me digress about you taking your health and fitness in control. And there's a saying, you either plan or you're going to fail. But if you fail to plan, you're basically planning to fail. I'm not exactly sure how that goes. So, and if you think about it, if you fail to plan, you're basically planning to fail. And we've learned goal setting, and like I said, we've learned basic stuff about health, and learned that at an early age about the food pyramid. And think about that, and think about how just directly related, not indirectly, directly related, our apps play into that. When we get to our fitness apps that could be put on our smartphones, and how simple and really inexpensive you could even get the additional technology. And you could get something even more sophisticated than just having a watch or a ring. You could just order a blood pressure cuff online and use that blood pressure cuff, and it'll come native with an app that'll connect to your phone. So we're going to talk about that more later, but I want you to think about what's important to you. Now, I wouldn't start with blood pressure unless I had a blood pressure problem. But what I would start with, if I was taking it, you know, after the app for, after my watch and my ring and stuff like that. I love my Ultrahuman ring and I love my watches. But after that, I would think of something more along the lines of a weight scale. Now, you may have a weight scale, but are you using it? And if you have a weight scale and you're not using it, that's the first thing you should do. And the second thing you should do is start tracking that data and enter it to your health app. And I'm sure you could search right now and find 500 apps that talk about measuring your weight, or just health apps that will have a section where you put your body weight in there. But even if you just started with that, that's always a good solid measurement to get started with. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll make another video later.